What is going on, Governors? Chisgule here, and today we're going to talk about Stage 2 of rebuilding your Crusader Fort and how we were pulling down something like 4,000 honor an hour. Alright, we've got a lot to talk about with Past Glory, Stage 2, 4 KVK, and if you're into Rise of Kingdoms videos, particularly Kingdom versus Kingdom, please do like and subscribe. Let's get right into this topic. The Crusader Fort is central to your getting buffs for your kingdom in KVK. In the first stage, which we covered in a previous video, we'll have a card up in the top over here, you are unlocking attack, defense, and health for your troops, and you get some rewards, but like the rebuilding stage 1 rewards chest, it looks like this big gold chest, but it's like, you know, it's not so big. Lol, I'm funny. So, stage 2 is very important because when you complete it, you double your hospital capacity. Your gathering speed goes up, but, you know, okay, that's cool. We're going to need a lot of resources for all the fighting ahead. And in order to complete this stage faster, I spent a lot of action points. Now, how do you complete Stage 2 of rebuilding your Crusader Fort? Well, of course, you battle Barbarians and you rally Barbarian forts. The much better set of rewards exists in the Barbarian forts. That is for sure. You have the opportunity of getting speed-ups, which come in pretty generous chunks, as much as a 3-hour or 8-hour speed-up, which is pretty spectacular. You rally 3 forts successfully, and you get 100 points toward building out the Crusader Fortress. The route that I went, just for time's sake, was battling Barbarians. And we battled so many Barbarians, it was kind of outrageous. We spent something like 60,000 action points, and we climbed in the honor roll pretty substantially. We're now in 11th. What I'll say about this is that this is not the best way to grind out honor. In a perfect world, you want to grind out honor later on when you're in a deeper zone of the Lost Kingdom. However, we wanted to put in this big effort toward rebuilding our Crusader Fort so that we can make sure we have double hospital capacity when our pass opens in, I don't know, from the time this video is going live, less than 24 hours. Yeah, we're going to have a live stream for that, and you definitely want to be there. You're not going to want to miss it. Now, getting back into Stage 2, have held on to a fraction of the rewards that we pulled down for battling Barbarians. I'll cruise through those rewards, and what I want to show you is the combination of commanders and builds that we used in order to basically infinitely farm Barbarians. That's right, you heard me correctly. Infinitely farm Barbarians without having to go back to town. And we are talking about, you know, level 26 to level 30 Barbarians, which is a pretty sweet situation. So let's start to claim some of these goodies so you can get a sense of the things that are in here. It's resources and alliance credits, really. That's the primary set of stuff you're getting here. And the alliance credits are kind of interesting. The way that I would think about alliance credits as a reward, because they don't sound all that exciting at first, is it's kind of like getting gems. Because you can buy from that alliance store speed ups, or really what you should be buying is teleports and talent resets and those sorts of things. So it's sort of a proxy for getting gems, because if you're doing a lot of teleporting, and that is very likely in the Lost Kingdom, you would have spent a whole lot of gems on teleports potentially, and instead you could use your alliance credits. So that's the way I've been thinking about that as a reward from this chest. Again, between the two chests, I do feel that the fort chests are better because you get those speed ups. But if you needed a lot of resources, Barbarians are a good way to go. And the reason I went this route is that, you know, you can only rally 5 forts at a time because you could have 5 marches, and you need to be actually 5 different people launching those rallies. You got to travel to the city of the rally, then you got to travel back to your city after the rally ends, then you got to join the next rally. All that stuff takes a lot of time. And so it was much more time efficient for me to run around destroying Barbarians. I actually couldn't believe that we burned something like 60,000 action points in such a small period of time. It was fairly remarkable. So we've opened a bunch of these now, and that kind of gives you a sense of what that looks like, what these rewards are. They vary, the number of alliance credits that you're getting. It varies the quantity of speed ups that you're getting, and the resources are fairly static, it seems, in terms of the quantity that you're getting. It's kind of funny these days. I wish all I was getting was gold. All right, we're not going to open all of these because it would simply take too long. However, what we can do now is just review the strategy we used for going infinite on barbs, because I think it is actually super helpful. And it took a little bit of fine-tuning for us to get to exactly what I wanted to accomplish. Now, you can sort of disregard this advice a little bit if the thing that you're trying to do is put experience onto a bunch of different commanders and you're on a relatively new account. But a lot of these ideas actually will apply to everybody. So let's walk through them. The first thing that we tried to do was to have 5 marches that were roughly the same speed. And the way that we accomplished that is, again, by using a lot of commanders that we really didn't need experience on, but we used Lohar with Khan because we wanted to make him go very fast and have him frequently be the first army to hit. We used Boudica with Baibars, who we are actually putting experience on. And Boudica is my slowest peacekeeping commander, so that is why we wanted to accelerate her after each fight using Baibars, who gives a march speed at the conclusion of each battle. And the third march that we used is Minamoto with Attila, who Attila is offering 9% extra march speed to keep this march going at a reasonable pace. We've got Cao Cao and Saladin. There is some amount of march speed on Saladin, but less than Attila, so we wanted to make sure Cao Cao could get places, but not too fast. And then, last but not least, Belisarius and Takeda. Takeda really doesn't have any march speed. He's just a cavalry commander that's really quite exceptional and does have healing. It is possible Takeda can get some march speed from a normal attack, but we weren't going to over-optimize for that. Frequently, what we found is we wanted to slow down our Belisarius because he would go so fast, he would always be the first one to hit. Unless you gave him a lot of healing, his march would get below 50%, and when he gets below 50%, he had charge talents, he was going even faster, which means that march kind of died off, and we'd have to go back to town. Truly, with this strategy, we could farm nearly infinitely, and I'll show some video off to the side pretty soon. What I want to do before I show the video of me smashing barbs and showing just how we could go for a very long time doing that is to illustrate the build, because the build that we were using is actually different than what we've done in the past for every single one of these peacekeepers that we were using. And you want to use peacekeeper primary for what we were doing here. Again, we were going for speed, not efficiency. If you want efficiency of your action points, you use a commander that does AoE. I'll put a card up in the top somewhere over here that you can check out that'll show you how you can chain barbarians, and with just 40 action points, you could get dozens of barbarians in a single go, but spend a lot of time doing it. What we're doing is the opposite route. We didn't have time, but we wanted to get as many points on the board as we could for our Crusader Fort. So with that said, let me get to a build here. If I pull up one of my peacekeepers, here's a Minamoto build that we used. This is very different than what we've done in the past, and there's some changes I would make here, potentially. But we went all the way for Curing Chant. The reason is that these fights would end almost as fast as we would arrive. Frequently, we would only get maybe one round of skill attacks from commanders. And so what we wanted to do is, even though the healing factor here is very tiny, adding this healing factor to every one of my peacekeeping marches, just about, made it so that I would stay at full health. The other thing that actually was really quite good is Double-Edged Sword. Only one of my commanders is taking skill damage, and they may not even get a single skill attack off we were doing so much damage. So the extra 15% damage that every one of my marches was doing is actually pretty meaningful. This was a very good talent to have. Of course, we always get Rejuvenate, and we went up to here to get the march speed for cavalry. As it turns out, charge is kind of wasted. We never got anywhere near 50%, and we were running around for a full hour. So I think that if I were doing this a little differently, I might go over here instead, so at least you get some bonus against archers. Hard to say. This is obviously not a build we would recommend for battling in the open field. This is just a chaining barbarians like crazy. I'm spending all my action points for honor sort of a build, which again, you want to do in the further zones in the Lost Kingdom. But this rebuilding of the Crusader Fort seemed pretty important for us to get a jump on. So that's the general sort of build we were using. Obviously, it's a little different by commander, and these aren't exactly perfect. We were sort of playing around with them. Here is the Boudica builds that we used. Again, going for the march speed over here. We wanted to get the march speed over here. We didn't pick up charge because we actually never got below 50%. And again, going for Curing Chant. Also worth mentioning that if you're spending a ton of action points, you absolutely want to get Trophy Hunter. We pulled down almost 100,000 of these chests that come from the Trophy Hunter bonus, which is pretty sweet. Some of those may have come as regular loot from Barbs, but you get the idea. It adds a non-trivial amount of value for 3 talent points. The Belisarius build that we used was this one here. We had some march speed, but I actually thought picking up Disarm was pretty nice. Reduce the attack of the enemy, potentially, from your normal attacks, while also getting some moderate boosts to your march speed, but not going completely ham on march speed. We didn't pick up Undying Fury for the extra rage gen, because honestly, we were almost never getting off skill attacks. The last commander we were using as a primary was Cao Cao, and the build we used here is our Ark of Osiris build. It's really strong for that activity. I definitely, if I were specializing this just for this activity, would focus it a little differently, but I actually found that Cao Cao March stayed at pretty high health, in part because of this skill here, Lofty Ambition. And this is the next thing we want to talk about, which is that as you're building out these marches, and especially if you're not like a max tech T5 player, you need to think about how you're spreading healing across your different marches so that you can make sure that all your marches stay relatively high health. A part of how you're doing that is through the talents. A part of how you can do that is through the skills. So commanders like Cao Cao that have healing are really great. Frederick I has healing on a normal attack, which is pretty great. Boudica does on an active skill, as does Takeda from the 3rd skill. Joan of Arc has healing from normal attacks. Lohar's, of course, doing a ton of healing. You get the idea. Oh, yes, Pelagius, one other important commander I wanted to talk about. A chance from your normal attacks to do some healing. Spread around those commanders that do healing so that all of your marches stay high health and move at about the same speed. What I'm going to do now is cut to the footage of me smashing those barbs really, really fast. And before I do, let's just sort of summarize here. We spent a ton of action points going completely ham for Past Glory Stage 2 because that double hospital capacity is very, very important for your kingdom. Many kingdoms track the speed at which this is being completed just to make sure they understand also when Stage 3 of Past Glory will become available when you turn in heads of commanders that you do not need, sculptures of your green and blue commanders, and even some of your epic commanders that you don't need in order to get a bunch of goodies so that you make sure you're there for that. And this is the guidance I'll give you in preparation for Stage 3, which is that you really want to be aware of when your Crusader Fort is going to tip over so that you're present, because that stage ends in the blink of an eye. So many people turn in so many things for rewards, and we will be doing the same. You should as well, and you'll lose the opportunity if you're not online when that happens. So let's cut over to the barb slaying craziness, and until next time, you have fun smashing the kingdom.